Devin DeLuca, great kid, raised in Central Oregon, in a privileged family, but right away knew that his heart said, I gotta help other kids, less fortunate.
And he did.
He did. His parents and his brother have carried on his efforts through the years, for the past 3 years, and it's called Devin's Destiny, and here are their story.
He said, I've learned two things. He said, number one, don't judge people until you get to know them. And number two, do something nice for people before they ask you to.
Words of insight from a son of privilege. Despite Devin DeLuca's upscale upbringing, his heart connected with his less fortunate peers early on, starting even at the age of 5.
We were driving to the store. They had earned some money, $3, $4, $5, and I was taking them to the store to buy a toy, something that they could choose. And there was a live radio remote going on for some type of a fundraiser. And it was just playing in the background, and Devin heard it, and they were raising money for kids who couldn't afford toys. And Devin said, Dad, he says, instead of going to the store to buy a toy, can we go over there and give them our money? He didn't care about money, he didn't care about clothes, didn't care about his car. You know, not the typical teenager. You know, he was always looking to see what he could do to help other people.
By the time he had turned 18, Devin had met a girl, followed her to Chicago, and immediately started feeding the hungry there.
And he did it at the beginning completely on his own.
This is Devin's brother Brandon in a recent YouTube video.
Getting on his bike, riding it all around town in the Chicago winter to get Odwalla bars from the factory and bread from the Wonder Bread factory. And after he gathered it all up, he took it to the park and he fed people.
We'd talk to him on the phone, and he'd tell us things like, well, I slept behind a dumpster last night in the alley. I'm like, oh my gosh, did you get kicked out of your house? I mean, what's the story? And he says, no. He said, you know, I've never known what it truly felt like to have to sleep outside in the wintertime. Just in casual conversation, he said, you know, I haven't eaten in about 3 days. And his mom and I just, oh my gosh. He said, I mean, you have your debit card, don't you? He goes, yeah. And I said, well, I'll put money in your account, you know, so you can get something to eat. And he said, no. He said, I've got some money. He says, but I've never been truly hungry. I've never truly felt what it's like. He said, you've always taken care of me. You've always fed me, you gave me shelter, but I've never truly been hungry. And I said, I'm really hungry.
By his early 20s, Devin had made it back to Bend, but was battling a mental illness that had plagued Rick DeLuca's family for generations.
I lost my 19-year-old sister when I was 23. She took her own life. My mother took her own life a year later. And so Devin showed signs of depression when he was about 14, 15. And it just became more and more severe.
On September 13th, 2009, Devin DeLuca ended his life.
Do I think about him every day? How about multiple times?
The DeLucas decided to carry on Devin's desire to help homeless and disadvantaged kids and formed Devin's Destiny.
You know, Devin's two passions, great passions, were kids. He loved kids, and he obviously had a real heart for the homeless community. And I said, what if we combine those two passions? And we did something as simple as provide a birthday party for every homeless child in Central Oregon. And not a lot of us walking the earth have the convictions as strong as my son had.